Louise, and today I'm going to show you how I cook for my dogs. I use this book, Complete and Balanced by Hilary Watson, and today I'm going to cook R12, which is adult recipe number 2. The ingredients for adult recipe number 2, we start with beef, just regular lean ground beef. We have applesauce, which I have here. I've just used unsweetened regular jarred applesauce. You can use your own homemade if you happen to do that. Carrots, just regular carrots. Cod liver oil. I use a liquid form of cod liver oil. You can also use capsules if you want. The liquid is just easier and faster to measure out. Hard-boiled eggs, honey, just regular honey, and safflower oil and salmon oil. In this case, we're using icosaderm. Tomato sauce, and Hilary's blend, which makes the entire recipe complete and balanced, so I don't have to worry about anything being missing from the recipe or anything there being too much of any one thing in the recipe. And this is what is going to make balanced and complete meal for my dogs. One of the challenges that I've encountered is meat, the expense of meat. Meat can be expensive. It's every bit as important as an ingredient in these recipes as every other ingredient is. So it's very important that you not substitute any meat for any other meat. It's very important that you look for sources for the meat that the recipe actually calls for. So in the case of beef, I look at the weekly flyers. There is always a store, one of your local stores or your local discount grocery stores, somebody always has lean ground beef on sale. And when they do, I tend to stock up. I'll buy, I'll buy 2 or 3 or 4 packages, depending on how they come. Some of them come in 2-pound packages. I'll buy 2 or 3 or 4, depending on how much room I have in my freezer. So it is important. There are ways to cut the costs. I've cut costs greatly by watching the flyers. I have a local butcher who has a farm across the street from his butcher store, so his meat tends to be less expensive than the grocery stores on a regular basis. So if I need beef and I haven't found any on sale, I'll go to him because I know his price is less than what I'm going to get in the grocery store. So it's worth taking the time to check out your local butchers, check out your flyers. You will find beef to be a lot less expensive than the regular everyday price. As far as chicken goes, if you're close to any of the the meat manufacturers, they often have outlet stores, and the prices are greatly reduced for a very good high quality chicken that you would buy in the grocery store. It's just that you're going right to the source, so it's much, much cheaper and worth the drive. If you have a big freezer, you can make the drive once a month and pick up what you need for a month or more. They sell in bulk at the outlet stores, and also again watch your flyers. Some of the other ingredients in some of the other recipes that I've tried, sardines for example, sardines are cheap. I find I get not necessarily a name brand. I'll go with a non-name brand can of water-packed sardines, and I tend to buy them when they go on sale. Again, if you watch your flyers, they'll go on sale. They can be down to about 69 cents a tin, which is a really good price, and I'll go buy a lot of them. And I had one man actually standing behind me in the checkout at the grocery store say to me, "Gee, what are you buying all these sardines for?" And I kind of rolled my eyes and said, "Well, don't laugh, but I cook for my dogs." And he said, "Wow, I think that's great. What else do you put in with them?" So I described the entire recipe because I had all the ingredients for the sardine recipe in my cart. And he said, "Wow, that sounds really good." He said, "I'm a chef at a restaurant here in town. I might just use that recipe." Now I have 3 dogs, so I usually or often will triple the recipes. I at least double the recipes in the book because that gives me several days of feeding my dogs from one recipe. The most time-consuming, or one of the time-consuming parts of making these recipes would be cooking the meat, in this case beef. So what I do, there are 2 measurements in the book. One is a dry measurement, and one is, in the case of the beef, one is a raw measurement. So for those people who want to use these recipes to feed raw, which you can, you can do. One is for the raw amount of meat to be used in the recipe, and the other is for the cooked amount of meat to be used in the recipe. So what I usually do is I'll end up cooking a little bit more than I would need for the recipe, because especially in the case of beef, it will cook down. So you need to be able to cook enough for the recipe. Oftentimes what I'll do is, to save time, I'll cook whatever meat it is, usually the day or the night before. I work evenings, so I take my dinner to work. So often what I'm cooking for the dogs will go into my dinner. So, I can have a hamburger, I can take something like that to work, I can take chicken on a salad to work. So I will have cooked that the day before. The next day, it's just, I don't have to worry about cooking the meat. It's just a matter of putting all the ingredients together, weighing out my ingredients, and putting them all together. So in the case of the beef just goes into a pan, a big pan. I break it up. And in the book, it's called for pan broiling. So what I do is I just spray my pan a little bit just so it doesn't stick. I break up the meat, like so. Put a lid on the pan, and it just goes onto the stove on a medium-low heat, and the lid helps to sort of steam it so it doesn't get too brown. It's not like frying the meat. You're more or less steaming it or boiling the meat, pan broiling the meat. And then you can just drain it off and use it for your recipe.